Okay, so, hello everybody, it is Batz Gaming here, back with another video on the Batz channel, and today we're going to be starting that new series I was talking about yesterday, and it's Sunday, so we're going to be starting a series called Game of the Week. Every week on Sunday, I will pick one game and talk about it for 5 to 10 minutes and talk about why I think it's great. So, to start it off with one of my favorite Call of Duty games, and the first Call of Duty game that I actually played multiplayer on, Black Ops 2. Now, Black Ops 2 was a great game for many reasons. Number one, it was made by Treyarch. Treyarch is the best Call of Duty developer that we know today, and they're actually making Black Ops 4 right now. And they've made all of the best Call of Duty games like World at War, Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, most of Black Ops 3, and now Black Ops 4, hopefully. And Black Ops 2, I think, was kind of the peak of the series, with the campaign following off after Black Ops 1, with kind of jumping through time from back in time when, near the end of Black Ops 1's campaign, and in the future in 2025 with Mason's son, David, and it worked. The time jumping worked and it made sense. It didn't screw the pacing of the game up. The campaign was great. It was theatrical. Like every Treyarch campaign, there was plenty of explosions and high-techy cool stuff going on. There's lots of guns that were interesting and didn't seem too out of place. Like they didn't seem too futuristic, but at the same time they were futuristic. So everything just worked. The campaign was pretty good, and there was multiple endings. There was multiple choices and multiple things you could do throughout the course of the campaign that would change your ending, which was the first Call of Duty campaign to do this, which was awesome. And Treyarch has always been innovating the series. And then we move on to one of the things that people play the most and what campaign kind of builds up to, the multiplayer. And the multiplayer is the first multiplayer I ever played. And this multiplayer, it was amazing because it had all of the elements of the campaign, all of the weapons, and it had the kill streaks, and it had the same vibe as the campaign. All of the maps seemed to flow well, all of them seemed to work amazingly, and of course every map has glitches, but Black Ops 2's maps were just amazing. They were almost perfectly polished, and every one of them ran well. They all looked amazing, and they all made sense why they were there, and for every game mode you would play them in, they would work. Unlike certain Call of Duties like Infinite Warfare and Black Ops 3, where the maps either made no sense, didn't work well, or didn't work well on every game mode. And I think Treyarch did a great job with Black Ops 2's maps. And then there's the guns. And the guns, I feel, were just about perfectly balanced. There was only about one or two overpowered weapons, and I think that was the FAL, and I don't remember the other one. It's been a while since I played Black Ops 2's multiplayer. And one of the guns that I used a lot was the M27. The M27 is kind of like the Commando from Black Ops 1, but combined with the M4 from Modern Warfare 2. And it was a great gun. Most of the guns were perfectly balanced because the guns were all just about perfectly balanced. Whether it was an automatic weapon, a semi-automatic weapon, or a burst weapon, they all seemed to play just about the same, besides their firing rate and their classification. And sniping was one of those things that Black Ops 2 helped to grow. Like FaZe and Optic and all the other Call of Duty clans really started to pick up in Black Ops 2. And Black Ops 2 was about the time that a lot of gaming YouTubers started to appear and YouTube started to get more popular with Vanoss. And I feel like Black Ops 2 has really helped the entire Call of Duty community because Black Ops 2 really started, YouTube Call of Duty. And YouTube is the reason that a lot of people know about most of the things that happen in Call of Duty and why more people play Call of Duty. It's because of Black Ops 2 and why it works so well in YouTube, because it just grew all of the people in FaZe and all the Call of Duty clans. It got Vanoss and everyone popular, and it got Black Ops 2 more popular as as its life cycle went by. And Black Ops 2 is probably the longest living Call of Duty game to date, with almost 6 years since its release. And it's still running strong with God knows how many people still playing it on the multiplayer. And people still love this game. It was considered to be one of the best Call of Duties ever made, thanks to Treyarch. And all the DLCs, they didn't feel too pay to win because there wasn't supply drop weapons either. So this was in that area still where there was DLC, but it wasn't bad DLC. So that's also why people still love Black Ops 2. And people don't play as much of Black Ops 3 anymore. Now let's move on to my favorite part of Black Ops 2, and one of those memed part of Black Ops 2, zombies. Zombies was the third game mode that Treyarch has had since World at War. And Treyarch has done zombies perfectly. A lot of the Call of Duty developers have tried to copy zombies, but have never really done it well. Treyarch started it, and because of that, they will always be the best at it. The first to do it is the best to do it. And it started off really bad with Transit, but the thing about Transit is it was really good for the YouTube community because it was just very easy to meme. I mean, Black Ops 2 is one of those, zombie modes where it's just, you just have memes upon memes upon memes, and that really helped a lot of YouTubers like Mr. T Lexify and The Smith Plays. With the robotical bus driver, the fog, the fog gremlins that try to murder your face in whenever you decide to walk on the map, the lava that's everywhere. There's just plenty of things that you could meme. That and the fact that Nocturne Totem was just randomly in a cornfield, just teleported out of nowhere. And it was just one of those maps that you could just meme. And the reason for the fog is that at the time the consoles were limited, and because of the size of the map, they needed the fog to keep it from basically being 1 frame per second. And then there was what they tried to do to compensate with the horrible map, is they tried making each of the sections of the map individual maps. Bus Depot was like Nocturne Totem, no perks, just a mystery box and a few guns on the wall. Town was possibly the best part of Transit when you play it, by itself as its own separate map. The Pack-a-Punch was in the middle and it worked. It worked as its separate map, but in Transit, nothing really worked. Unfortunately, Farm, Bus Depot, and the other map that was, that were separate maps and a part of Transit at the same time didn't really work as well and weren't very well received. Town is still one of the best maps in zombies, even though a lot of people forget about it when they're talking about maps because they don't think of Town as a separate map because of Transit and Black Ops 2's weird thing that they did with Transit. And then there was the first DLC, I believe the first DLC was Die Rise. And Die Rise was it was kind of a weird map, and a lot of people didn't like Die Rise. And I understand why people don't like Die Rise, because Die Rise, it takes place in skyscrapers, high up, and you're jumping between skyscraper and skyscraper, and it's easy to jump, jump off wrong and, fall to your death. And then with the Squicklifier and, all the jumpy zombies, it's just really easy to break the map and get yourself stuck in places that you can't come back from. And it breaks the map entirely. And, the Squicklifier, if you're in a place that you can't get back out of and you're trying to camp and survive, you can easily shoot the Squicklifier and slide yourself off the map and die anyway. Which is a big reason why a lot of people didn't like Die Rise, because Die Rise was a map that you could just kill yourself on endlessly, and it introduced one of the worst perks in all of zombies history, Who's Who. It was basically the retarded brother of Quick Revive that everyone hated, and they never brought it back, besides Die Rise. Because Who's Who, if you go down, it spawns you with none of your guns or perks, you basically spawn with a pistol and have to go revive yourself. Which is stupid when you could get quick revive and just be revived instantly. Because there's no way you could not revive yourself with quick revive, because you already just revived yourself. With Who's Who, you have to put in the effort to make it all the way to your dead body before your character dies, and you have to not die with a pistol, or you have to give up on yourself, go rebuy everything, which is basically redundant. Why not just get quick revive? And that's just about it for Die Rise. Die Rise was just an awful map, and I think it's worse than Transit in my honest opinion. But let's move on to one of the slightly better maps that Jimmy Zielinski made when he was the director of zombies for Black Ops 2. Buried. Buried was DLC 2. And Buried, it started and you're on the top floor, and whenever you feel like it, you can leave and go into the underground western town. But one of the things that is infamous on Buried is how easy the map is with the purifier, I think the name is. It's been a while. Or the paralyzer. It's called, the paralyzer, the time bombs, and the LSAT in the spawn room. There's an LSAT in the spawn room. Have you ever played a zombies map that has an LMG in the spawn room? No. Buried is the only map that has ever done this, and we still don't know why. And it made the map so much easier. You could get 3,000 points, jump up on that ledge, grab the LSAT, and you'd be good. Then you're good for at least the next 10 to 20 rounds. You could get the paralyzer and camp till round 70. And then you could go brag to everyone that you're good at zombies when really you're just trash playing the easiest map in zombies history. But it did introduce one of the better perks that we all actually only saw once or twice, Vulture-Aid. And Vulture-Aid was something cool, because Vulture-Aid, it would show you the location of every perk, the box, and I think wall weapons too. So you could see everything on the map. So if you didn't know where something was or forgot where it was, you could just look around and you'd find it. And that was really cool because you could never lose yourself on the map or not find what you're looking for. And it had one of those pack-a-punches that was kind of weird. You had to run through a house full of, full of floating Western witches. Like they were ghost witches, and they would steal your money if they got you, and you had to make it through the entire house out, and then you had to make it through a maze to find a well then you go down the staircase to the pack-a-punch room, of which was a little square room with windows. And basically, if you were in there in the middle of the round, you were screwed, because you were either gonna survive in there and camp in there, or you were going to be murdered in a corner. Buried was one of the easier maps out of all of the zombies maps, and for that reason, a lot of people, and especially noobs, think that Buried is one of the best maps because it's easy, and it makes it seem like they're better at zombies when they're not. And Buried honestly wasn't a horrible map, but a few things just make it not make sense. It doesn't make sense why there's an LSAT in the spawn. It doesn't make sense why the pack-a-punch is so awkward and difficult to get to. And half of the time, by the time you do get to the pack-a-punch, you don't even have enough points because all the witches took your points. So it's just kind of a stupid map, but at the same time, people like it because it's easy. But anyway, now we're going to move on to the good maps that Jason Blundell made, because this is when Jason Blundell started zombies. Jason Blundell started zombies with DLC 3 on Mob of the Dead. And Mob of the Dead, even though it was one of those maps like Transit that had nothing to do with our original 4 characters and made no sense why it was here, everyone loves it. Because it was just a great map. The characters were lovable and they made sense. Even though the map didn't make sense why it was placed there, the characters did make sense. And they all had their separate stories. And there was a reason to like these characters and to, care about these characters. The map was interesting and it wasn't stupid like some of the other maps like Transit. It wasn't, it didn't punish you for walking. It didn't burn you alive for not taking the bus. it was good, and it had one of the best wonder weapons, and one of the only wonder weapons that has multiple variants that you can build. The Blender Gat. There's the regular version, the Acid Gat, the one that shoots 2 shots, and there's probably one more that I don't remember. But there was also the Hell's Retriever, and the upgraded Hell's Retriever, the Golden Spork, which was a one-shot knife until like round 40. There was the jump scare Easter egg with the fireworks. There was the amazing Easter egg. There was building the plane and heading to the Golden Gate Bridge for Pack-a-Punch. It was so cool and cinematic, and it really felt like this creepy, run-down Alcatraz. Like, the vibe was right. And the zombie design was good, and I think this is why we all really like Jason Blundell, because he started off with a good map. The map worked well, and there was also a few good trolls in there with PhD and I think Mule Kick being on a boat outside of the map where you couldn't get to him, which was hilarious. And he even did bring back PhD for the turn mode, or the, like the versus mode that they had in Black Ops 2, which was pretty cool to see PhD again. We thought we were actually never going to see PhD again in Black Ops 2, but we ended up seeing it again in Mob of the Dead and eventually Origins, which reminds me, it is time to talk about possibly one of the, best regarded, most well-received zombies maps ever made. Origins. Origins is the Smith Play's favorite map. It was one of my favorite maps until Garrod Krovi came out in Black Ops 3, but it is an amazing map. You start off with the 2.0 versions of our original 4 characters, which surprised everyone and made us all happy because we finally were back to characters we actually cared about, not random characters that came out of nowhere for no reason and that just existed. So we were back with our original 4, the 2.0 versions of them, and you were back with the story. And this is actually one of the first zombie maps to have a ending cutscene and a very complicated Easter egg like Mob of the Dead's. So there was also the staffs. There was 4 staffs and you could build all of them. There was also the element rounds with the snow that you could get on round 4, and then there was the rain, and it worked. And there was the robots that were stomping around. The zombie design was perfect. The level design, because it was World War I, it was kind of in a trench, which also made sense why it was so enclosed, because it was World War I and it was a trench. It wasn't, you couldn't pass it off as lazy level design. And it was also one of the bigger maps of Black Ops 2. And it really did work. People liked it because of all the innovativeness with the Easter egg and the staffs. All the things Origin did for zombies was incredible, and it was an absolute banger to end off Black Ops 2. So, in conclusion, this is why I think Black Ops 2, for the start of this series, is Game of the Week, for the first week of Game of the Week. So, yeah, what do you guys think about Black Ops 2? Tell me down in the comments. Do you own Black Ops 2? Do you regularly play it? Or is it just sitting in a closet somewhere collecting dust? Tell me, and yeah, if you have a game that you want me to talk about in the next Game of the Week, also tell me down in the comments. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. All my gamer tags are down in the description below if you want to play games with me anytime. And there's a link to the Galaxy Cat Batz Discord if you want to talk to me or Galaxy anytime that we are not recording or streaming. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!